Hey, it's me, Crystal, and today I'm going to show you how to make this easy macrame feather wall hanging using feather templates. So to start, I just have this random stick that I had in my stash, and I just found this outside and kind of sanded it smooth. And it really doesn't matter what size stick you use for this, but this one that I'm using is about 10 inches long. So this is good for a smaller stick if you want to do that, or you can make more feathers and do a bigger stick. It's really up to you. Then I'm just grabbing some cord out of my scrap cord bin, and I'm using anywhere between 3, 4, and 5 millimeter cord for this. And I have these feather templates here, and I will link down below to where I got these ones at. But they're really cool. They're these just little wooden or particle board or something, little templates, and that makes it really easy to cut perfectly straight feathers, and they're really handy. So I'm going to use those for this project, and this is the 3 sizes I'm going to use. You can do whatever size you want or whatever you prefer, but I just thought this was a good size. So now I'm just going to take one of my cords that I'm going to use as like the filler cord or the middle part of the feather. And the length will just depend on how far down you want your feather to be. And you're going to attach that to your dowel or your piece of wood here with a lark's head knot, like that. And then to find where the bottom needed to be, I just found where I wanted the end of the feather to be. And I knew I was going to cut a little bit off, so I made it a little bit longer than the template. And I repeated that for the other feathers, and just make the filler cord as long as you need it to be for where you want your feather to hit. I'm going to start on the center one. So to do the feather, you just take some small pieces of cord, and this is probably about 10 inches long maybe, and then fold it in half, and then you put one under the center like that, and then you take the other one, bring the ends through, and then you take the ends of that one and put it through the loop. And then you just pull the 2 sides to tighten that up, and it makes a square knot right there in the middle. Just tighten it up, make sure it's nice and even, and then you can move your template out of the way, and you just continue. And I'm alternating them so that the square knots each face a different direction, or back and forth for each pair of cords, but you can also just do them the same. It's up to you. It just makes it look a little bit different, and there's really no right or wrong way to do it. And then you just scoot them up and continue on until you get as many as you need for your feather. And here you can see I'm using some different colors. I have this green cord, and it's actually a little thicker. It's a 5 millimeter cord, and that natural colored one is a 3 millimeter cord. So you can mix it up and use really whatever you have in your stash for this project. It's a great way to use up scraps, which is exactly what I'm doing with mine. And then once you brush it out, you won't really be able to tell, the thickness difference won't really make a difference. If it's like a big difference in size, it might, but if it's just a few millimeters of difference, it'll be fine. Once I got all the cords attached, I took my template and I just kind of roughly cut the string just so it wouldn't be super long whenever I was brushing it out, because that can get kind of tangly if you leave it too long. And then I grabbed my pet slicker brush that I like to use when I'm brushing out a lot of fringe, and just went ahead and brushed it all out really, really, really good. You're going to want to brush it on both sides until it's really smooth. And I didn't use a stiffening spray for this tutorial because I was moving and I had it all packed away, but I would definitely recommend using a stiffening spray with this as well to keep your feathers nice and straight and flat. Then I grabbed my template and took the rubber band off, and what you do is you put the open side on the top, and then the solid side goes on the back, and you sandwich them together with your feather right in between. And then you just use the rubber band, and it goes in those notches to hold it together. you just want to be careful and try not to smush the string too much there on where the rubber band goes, but you can always brush it out and give it a trim later, which I had to do. And then you just cut along the template, and it is very satisfying and easy, and you don't have to stress about getting your feather all perfect and, you know, the right shape. And then you just do the same on the other side. And then once you get it all trimmed, you take off your rubber band and see what you have. And you'll probably need to do a little bit of brushing and trimming just to get it perfect. But you have a really great base, so that is very, very helpful. So I just went ahead and I brushed it a little bit where the rubber band was, because it's kind of hard to get that perfect with the rubber band. That is so much easier than just eyeballing it. I know whenever I eyeball feathers, I usually end up cutting off more and more and more, and then they just get smaller and smaller. Then I just went ahead and repeated that with the other two sizes. So I have this one with the orange, and then I have a little tiny one I did with blue, and brushed them out and did the exact same process. Trimming these is just so satisfying and so quick and easy. So I definitely recommend these templates if you like making macrame feathers. It really makes it a much more relaxing and fun process. And these come with a bunch of different sizes, which makes it easy to switch it up and use a different size for whatever project you're working on. I love taking off the rubber bands and seeing the big reveal after you cut all the excess off. But you always have to kind of give it a little extra brush and a little extra trim just to make it perfect. But it's really nice having that initial shape done, and it just makes it so much easier than having to eyeball the whole process. So for this wall hanging, I just did these 3 feathers, and you can go ahead and keep adding more and more feathers if you want. You can make a whole bunch of them. You can do them all one color, you can do them different color like I did here. There's a lot of possibilities for this little wall hanging. And here's the finished result, and I think this turned out really cute, and I like how perfectly symmetrical and nice and neat these feathers turned out. And if you want to grab some of your own feather templates, I will put a link down below to where I bought mine. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Thanks for watching!